The Tantric Dance of Feminine Power. As a teacher, facilitator, and ordained priestess of the goddess and women's mysteries, I have worked with women, and to a lesser degree men, in ritual, private healing sessions, devotional moving meditation, and subtle body knowing since the late 1980s. Body knowing, and here's the definition, body knowing is conscious awareness of and participation with the language of the body, which is sensation, breath, sound, shape, motion, and emotion. Now, under emotion, I have emotions are sensations. This is my footnote. But I explicitly include emotion because repression of them is central to our afflictions. I want to elevate them to the level of carriers of intelligence and information. That is true of them. Okay. And emotion. Subtle body knowing is listening / feeling the body's language with highly refined and nuanced awareness. And that's what we do in the Tantric Dance of Feminine Power. In the Tantric Dance of Feminine Power, which is generally done unpartnered, the erotic is entirely internal, self-referenced, a dance of co-mingling energies of womb, heart, third eye, and countless inner nadis, or energy channels, tremoring with electromagnetic energy, pleasure, and power, all of which suffuse the body-mind with a sense of being loved. And these classes that I do with women are women only. And I have worked with men only. I'm getting to that. And I have a couple of footnotes here. Number 9, the third eye is the pineal gland, which I mentioned the third eye. The third eye is the pineal gland in the center of the brain, which translates chemical information into inner vision. It is also known as the eye of the womb, active in the visionary wisdom streams of menses and menopause. And the nadis, or the energy channels, Tantra maps them at 72,000. So that keeps us pretty busy. Okay. And then I speak about the dance. And when I talk in this essay about the dance, I'm referring solely to the Tantric Dance of Feminine Power, the womb-sourced moving meditation of feminine wisdom, and not to the many derivatives that have been made from it, nor to other practices with a similar name. There have been a lot of spin-offs. The dance also awakens spiritual awareness of what I call wisdom streams, and in this way has been kind of a Rosetta Stone by which, because I have already experienced directly in my body what they describe, I perceive the meaning of esoteric spiritual texts which I might not have otherwise understood. That's direct body knowledge. The dance is a dynamic, spontaneously, deeply internal moving meditation, and is, quote-unquote, dance only in the sense of the cosmic play of energy. There are no steps or technique. However, there is a form. And the form is based in the natural wave pattern of pleasure, and it's discovered through feeling subtle sensations and emotions. And again, another footnote: since there is neither performance nor resistance involved, we do not engage in jerky, shaking, or broad-stroked or beat-driven movement. So what I'm saying is, this is a very subtle internal movement that shapes the body naturally, and the emphasis is still internally on the sensations and feeling, rather than being aware of any kind of outward expression or movement. The shape happens spontaneously. The body's language, including erotic experiences, can be a portal into experiencing the all-pervading love of Shakti. The body's language, including erotic experiences, can be a portal into experiencing the all-pervading love of Shakti. And then I quote from a tantra here, what did I say? From a tantric scripture. And forgive me if I don't say this quite right. Chitta Suddhi Prakarana. Chitta Vishuddhi Prakarana. All right. Love enjoyed by the ignorant becomes bondage. That very same love, tasted by one with understanding, brings liberation. Enjoy all the pleasures of love fearlessly for the sake of liberation. The Tantric dance of feminine power is simultaneously a prayer and the answer to the prayer. A footnote. One of my students who became a teacher of the practice, that phrase, answer, is the prayer and answer to the prayer, was by Dina Booth, also known as Kamala, who's an adept of the practice, and she's now deceased. May she rest in peace. We start with, I'm going to describe the dance to give you a sense. We start with the devotional intention. Then let our awareness drop into our womb, where we rest and wait for spanda to gather. Spanda, the tremoring vibration that underlies reality, until we feel the impulse to movement. Movement arises from feeling subtle sensations of pleasure. That pleasure moves the body into shapes, or body mudras, body asanas. And the pleasure can be as simple as the awareness of the stretch of a muscle or the warm quickening of an emotion that floods through the body. Each body shape, from moment to moment, has its integral biocircuitry, which holds a particular frequency of power and knowledge. The dance is a continuous, uninterrupted stream of asanas, a streaming yoga. As we let ourselves be affected by the feelings and shape, they amplify and heighten. And rather than dissipate the intensity, we continue to absorb and thus embody higher and higher frequencies. So this is not an outward expression. And I'm going to parenthetically add here, spontaneously, it's every shape has a, if I slump down like this and I go like this, and then my voice goes like that, and then I feel kind of depressed, and then blah, I drag around. That's biocircuitry. If I lift myself up and I smile, I may still be sad inside a little bit, but things do start to change chemically in the body. So we all experience this natural biocircuitry of the body. In the dance, it's much more subtle and potent. And then it connects us with the deepest parts of ourselves. These descriptions of the dance convey the source, how we literally revere and worship the pleasurable feelings as the subtle form of the Divine Mother herself. Worship me as your innermost self, says the goddess in the Tripura Rahasya, another Tantric scripture. In the dance we do this, both women and men, and this is how we can come to directly experience what is manifest in the women and men on those temple walls. Karuna, the Sanskrit word for the mystical blend of celestial, erotic, and mother love, of pleasure, sexuality, and compassion. Things we don't often think go together, huh? Our heart is pierced with devotion. Our bodies suffused with beauty, divine pride, feminine power, and love. In view of this, it follows that the form of fluid wave pattern is the same for men as for women. The hard line between male and female tends to dissolve. Female and male alike source from the womb. I tell men to imagine a womb, and they report to me that it transforms their perception of their body and their sexuality. To have something inward rather than projecting out. Men undulate and move in circular fluid shapes, moving through an array of feelings. We are, all of us, all of it. No concepts here. Just direct experience of the body-mind and the Shakti that animates all. What is the difference between men and women then? The women access Shakti and manifest the wisdom level of the dance, what I call the wisdom level of the dance, much more easily and readily. And here I quote from Tantric Quest, An Encounter with Absolute Love by Danielle Odier, who is a Tantric adept. He says, what a male Tantrika realizes in 1 year, a female adept attains in 1 day. I can attest to that, working with women and men. Oh yeah. Women should be respected for that. Okay, divide and conquer the female. Tantra has long recognized the power of woman, the preeminence of female embodiment. It is considered auspicious to incarnate as a woman, a sentiment that amounts to heresy in patriarchal society, which is founded on patriarchal religion that trivializes, marginalizes, and ultimately demonizes woman. Patriarchy is at battle with the body, specifically woman's body. Woman must be controlled, and the way to do that is by dividing the power and totality manifest in her body. Divide women internally from their distinctly female, woman-powered bodies by denigrating menses, medicalizing pregnancy and birth. Doctors, mostly male, deliver babies. By objectifying their bodies in the beauty, fashion, media, and pornography industries. And by dividing women from each other and their collective female body knowing into nuclear male-dominated family units. Divide and conquer the female. The crux of patriarchal power is division and separation, based in erasure of reality through concepts. The erasure of reality through concepts. Patriarchy conceptualizes the physical as separate from the spiritual, profane from holy. In reality, there is no such division. The body and all matter is holy. I'm underneath this beautiful oak tree, a beautiful sky and sunshine. It's holy. Gotta find my place. Patriarchy divides man from woman by conceptualizing them as binary, polar opposites. It conceptualizes and separates humanity from everything else, earth, plants, animals, cosmos, and from God. In this scenario, God is not our innermost self, as with the goddess, but the first other. God is the first other. This is followed by the concept that a man-god made a woman out of a man. A man-god made a woman out of a man. Woman is not just the second sex, but the second other. Patriarchy denies reality, that woman is primary, for she creates man. Patriarchy denies that. It reverses this reality, and from these distortions, it makes up an identity, primacy and rulership over women, for the male. We might consider this the beginning of today's gender identity problem. We might consider this the beginning of today's gender identity problem. And I'm going to add parenthetically here, spontaneously, we're in the end game of what started with that patriarchal religious concept. The trans narrative, okay, now I've got a footnote here. When I speak in this essay of trans narrative or trans agenda, I'm referring to the political and societal actions of the trans activists. By no means do all trans-identified people fit into this aggressive, misogynist narrative. However, they are ultimately harmed by it. So, trans activists. The trans narrative perpetuates patriarchy's central violence, the battle with the body. It postulates, I was born in the wrong body, or it tells children, you may have been born in the wrong body. And it plays out gender identity, quote unquote, to its logical conclusion, which is biology, nature, and the cosmos got it wrong. Woman and her womb got it wrong, just as she did in the garden when she ate the apple. The trans narrative echoes the division of women from their bodies in complaints such as, and these are direct quotes, to talk about menstruation or vaginas is misogynistic because it excludes trans women. Wow. Wow. What a pretzel that is. Okay. True misogyny, however, I am saying, was exhibited when one high-profile trans activist derisively referred to a woman's child as a quote-unquote womb turd. That makes me angry and sad. I have a footnote there. The woman to whom this epithet was thrown by trans activist Andrea James, a quote-unquote trans woman, was Alice Drager. The term womb turd is now included in the online Urban Dictionary. What did I say earlier about respect and reverence for woman? Ugh. Okay. Such complaints and epithets are unthinkable in the Tantric view, or the view of anyone who respects women or the human body. That womb turd slur also illustrates the true root and actual nature of misogyny. I don't have it, so I want to trivialize, marginalize, and devalue it by any means. It's the sour grape principle referred to earlier. The trans agenda takes separation even a step further. Rather than merely separate body and mind, one need not address the body at all. Biology is erased from the definition of woman and man and replaced with the patriarchal concept, gender identity, quote unquote. The legal definition of gender identity in numerous United States, USA states, is similar to what was proposed for federal legislation in July 2015 in the United States, and it reads, the term gender identity means the gender-related identity, appearance, mannerisms, or other gender-related characteristics of an individual, regardless of the individual's designated sex at birth. And I have a footnote here, 18. Maybe I don't. Okay. I want to say here that this, parenthetically on the side here, this definition of gender identity is circular. Gender is never defined. Gender identity means gender-related identity. Gender identity means the gender-related identity. Appearance, mannerisms, these are all stereotypes. These are all external things, etc. Continuing on, woman and man are reduced to concepts based in costumes and stereotypes. With Orwellian doublespeak and a convoluted distortion of biological reality, the trans agenda conceptualizes the body as wrong, then imposes the concept of gender identity on it to make it right. It declares some women have penises and some men vaginas, but woman, man, and gender are never defined. And that vacuum of objective definition spins us round in a vortex of circular logic, or illogic, that says anyone who feels like or identifies as a woman is one. If you have a penis and you identify as a woman, then the penis is a female organ. Woman is now a concept, a gender identity, completely separated from biology. Here, the patriarchal erasure of woman through separation from her body reaches its zenith. Any man can be a woman. I'm saying this parenthetically now. The ignorance in this is just astounding to me. Astounding. And completely untethered from direct body knowing. Continuing, it is ironic that gender identity, it is ironic that gender identity, quote unquote, instead of liberating sincere trans-identified people from suffering, traps them in the very gender binary stereotypes constructed by heteronormative society that makes them feel trapped in the first place. In constructing gender identity, they look in exactly the wrong place for wholeness. Tragically, identity is not only a concept that limits fluidity, but it installs a steel fence of mutual otherness and separates oneself from the totality. The aim of Tantra is to dissolve identity so that we may be open to the totality. This does not mean that we forget who we are. It simply means we do not cling to the roles we play in our life or hold them rigidly. The body does not care if we identify as genderqueer, pansexual, gay, lesbian, or hetero. It does not care if we identify as an athlete, professor, qigong master, mother, politician, or house painter. It does, however, care about how much or how little reverence we treat it with. Our identity means nothing to the body. Our feelings about our identity do, on the other hand, greatly impact our body chemistry and our physical and psychological health. And it is in this reality that body knowing resides. So the body doesn't care, but our feelings affect the body. The body is biological. It is not a concept. It is real. It is self-intelligent. Cut the skin, it will heal itself. Put food in its stomach, it will digest it. While our thoughts and feelings affect healing and digestion, healing and digestion are not dependent on them. The body will perform these processes whether or not we give effort or attention to them. The same self-intelligence goes for the miraculous capacity of woman's body to gestate and birth a human being. Common ground and the great Tantric secret. There is a common ground upon which humanity can meet without conflict or debate. It is the body itself. It requires neither coercive laws nor legalistic redefinition of tangible reality. To refer back to our beloveds on the temple walls, they love each other with such graceful reverence and tender respect because they love the body itself. Respect and receptivity to one's own body as sacred makes it possible to love another's body as sacred. Conversely, reverence and respect for the body are exactly what is missing in the trans agenda, and what must be missing to enable it. to enable the erasure required to act as if being a woman is no big deal. Anybody can do it, just dress and act a certain way. But this missing common ground, the sacred body, is where humanity needs to meet to resolve the millennia of erasure of the female. An erasure which now, due to the drugs and surgery of modern medical intervention, can play out with a biological literalness that was not available before today's politicized trans agenda. The body loves us. It is not the wrongdoer who traps us where we are not supposed to be into who we are not. The anguish of feeling I was born in the wrong body is felt in the body. The suffering is real, but it does not originate from the body. It is rather a consequence of rigid, moralistic societal constructs and the society and people who enforce them, driven by a fear that is based in their own rigid identity. No one is born into this anguish. What a terrible cruelty to impose it through external gender constructs. What is marvelous, on the other hand, is that the liberation we seek does originate from the body. To find it, we need to surrender control and listen to and feel the body's own language. Sensation, breath, sound, shape, motion, and emotion. In Tantra, the female embodies the power, the male the capacity for wonder. And I have a footnote for that. That is from Desire, The Tantric Path to Awakening by Danielle Odier. And I'll reread that. In Tantra, the female embodies the power, the male the capacity for wonder. The current trans agenda is dominated by the battle between wonder and reverence for the primal feminine, as it is embodied in woman, and the resistance and attempt to control the uncontrollable, central to patriarchy. And again, another quote. A Tantrika worships woman because he recognizes her power, says Danielle Odier in Desire, the Tantric Path to Awakening. A Tantrika worships woman because he recognizes her power. This recognition, he continues, dissolves all obstacles. It is the cornerstone of a deep relationship. The great masters of the past who sought the teachings of the yoginis totally melted and let themselves be led toward totality. The unsettling reunion of the body, mind, emotions, and space. End quote. The attempt to control separates us from our deep soul longing to melt into wholeness, to be immersed in the totality, to come home to the great round of the Great Mother. There is good reason that awe is defined, and this is from the dictionary, as a feeling of reverential respect mixed with fear or wonder. Awe is defined as a feeling of reverential respect mixed with fear or wonder. We have two choices in the face of the primal feminine. Surrender in awe or deny with control. If a woman is to fully inhabit her body, she must stop fearing and hiding her innate power, and surrender to it. If a man wants to be a woman, he cannot do so by imposing drugs or surgery or superficial imitation by way of dress and mannerisms. But there is something he can do. He can become a woman energetically. Without drugs, without surgery, without political strong-arming, and without trying to coerce others into giving him an untruthful reflection. In Tantra, it is known that the aim of a male Tantrika is to become a woman energetically. Some years ago, I had an extraordinary experience at the end of a 6-week men-only Tantric Dance of Feminine Power class series. As I sat with these 7 men in the closing circle of that last class, I suddenly felt a peculiar sensation. Peculiar only because it was in a circle of men. I felt exactly as I do in a circle of women. I felt and spoke the closing prayer of gratitude to the goddess exactly as I would when I was sitting with women, because these men had become women energetically. So I've experienced that directly. I know it's real. What we see in the sensuously virile men on the temple walls is that they are women energetically. Being a woman energetically does not diminish masculine virility. To the contrary, the source of virility is Shakti, the feminine power. The goddess speaks in the scripture, and this is from the Devi Bhagavata Purana, chapter 3, verse 6. And the goddess says, "A weak man is declared to be without any Shakti." Nobody says that he is without Shiva or without Vishnu. Those who are timid, afraid, or under one's enemies, they are all called Shaktiless. No one says that this man is Shivaless, and so forth. And I would add here what we're seeing in this the militias arising and the male hypermasculinity and the aggression. Those two are without Shakti. That's not virility. That's a sign of impotence. It follows then that it follows then that woman initiates the male into experiencing her spherical totality. The universe is her form. She is the totality. She contains the womb. This does not separate her from man because it is reality rather than concept or identity. That is the very ground of their union, for it is the union of a couple of any, just as it is the, that is the very ground of their union, as it is for the union of a couple of any sexual orientation. And the next quote comes from a personal conversation with Amarananda Bhairavan, author of Kali Zodia, A Shaman's True Story of Initiation, and the holder of the Oti Vidya lineage of Kerala, India. And I've worked with him personally. He's also known as Nandu Menon. And he says, when a tantric man and woman lie down to make love, it is like two goddesses lying down to make love. Woman is to man as goddess is to humanity and all creation. Woman embodies and manifests the primal creative power of Shakti. It is for this reason that Tantra recognizes woman as the creator of the universe and declares the universe is her form. Coming back to the Shakti Sangama Tantra, and quoting, woman is the true form of the body, whatever form she takes, whether the form of a man or a woman is the superior form. What? Woman can take the form of a man? Huh. Where the trans narrative might grasp at that, claiming, see, that's what a trans man is. This would be a pathetic reduction indeed. The next few lines elaborate why. In woman is the form of all things, of all that lives and moves in the world. We are back to totality, all that lives and moves in the world. The totality is infinitely diverse. It does not erase distinction. It encompasses it. A man is not a woman, and a woman is not a frog or a palm tree. We do not erase the distinctions between we do not erase the distinctions between woman, frog, or palm tree. Why should we erase the distinctions between woman and man? What we need to appreciate is that just as all distinctions are encompassed in the cosmic womb, likewise, woman encompasses man in her womb. In woman is the form of all things. She creates the male from her form, and he emerges from her. He is a variation of her. In this way, she takes the form of a man. This is the great Tantric secret stated earlier. He is she. The desire of a man to be a woman is not new. In India, the Hijra, the men who dress and live as women, date far back, as does cross-sex living for both women and men in many cultures. Footnote. Okay, not an important footnote. The next quote is from Hindu scripture, and that is, even the powerful gods, or Hindu gods, crave to enter feminine form. Even the powerful Hindu gods crave to enter feminine form. According to the Vaishnavitic doctrine, all souls are feminine to the supreme reality. Many Purana legends describe males transforming into females. In one story, Shiva, a male god, was making love to his mate Parvati and took on the form of a woman to please her.